most often it will fit fairly well around the head if you just tie it closely on the end. It's good to measure on the head though, because sometimes the head is a little smaller and you may want to tie this a little closer up. Setting that aside, you'll take your red 130s one at a time, and I take and put them end to end, dividing it fairly well in half, and then again folding it over, bringing that end together. What you'll do now, every once in a while I have to go back and realign, and it's that perfectionist in me. Taking all four stacked on top of each other, I take my scissors. Well, it came undone again. Well, and I trim them at an angle. Well, it didn't work quite so well, so I'll do it again. Trim them at an angle, giving them a pointed end. But you'll do the same thing on the other end, cutting at an angle, giving them a point. Taking your other piece that you used, we're still on the first red 130, folding it over, cutting at an angle. You've made essentially four thorns, four sets of thorns. You can do it with that few if you wish. I prefer to use more because I like, not that I like to put the thorns in his head, but I like to be as realistic as possible and put thorns clear around. I'm going to do it a little different this time. I'm going to trim one end, then the other. Then I'm going to fold them both up. Trim them both at the same time. Excellent. Now you have 8 thorns. Taking your brown balloon, find about the middle of the front by pushing it together until you can come straight to the front. Take one thorn at that point, half and half on either side of the brown, stretching it, tie one knot, basically making thorns. Repeat this process at intervals of your choosing, always trying to keep the thorns in the front each time you tie a next set of thorns on. After you've attached all the thorns to the crown, you can take it and put it upon the head. One thing I will add at this point that I haven't added in yet, and I never mark it. I never take a marker, a Sharpie or anything, and put any marks on it at all. I've had people hand me a marker and say, "Here, draw his face on." And first time that happened, I took one look at him and said, "No, I don't think I want to look in his eyes right now. I mean, here." And I'll hand them the marker and say, "You want to? Go ahead, you do it, because I don't want to look into his eyes right now." But that was before I came to a deeper knowledge. I might just do it then, now as opposed to before. But now we're going to set this aside, and we're going to make the cross portion. I'm going to show how to make the loincloth or cover for the figure of Christ. Now, taking 2 9-inch, 11-inch, or 16-inch round balloons, the larger the better. You'll cut the neck off. Then going down one side, you'll have a natural concave and arched shape to the balloon. You'll go along that edge, cutting the balloon open off of one side as you go, going around about 2/3 of the way, so that when you open, you'll have a cover. Well, on this, better go a little longer on this one. Go a little more than 2/3 of the way. Now what you'll do is cut small little triangles or pieces out to give it a jagged edge look. You want to do them differently on both sides. Work with me here. Thank you. So that it doesn't look identical on both parts. And you'll use this to tuck in between the bubbles, and the way to do that is to grab it just below the edge where you cut the neck off and stretch and pull it in, and it gives you that look of coverage that you're wanting to have. You'll do the same thing on the back with the other balloon, like so, getting all the coverage that you feel you need. At this point, I'd like to show you how to do the cross. You'll take 3 brown balloons and fill them from end to end, giving a slight burp so that they're not extremely tight, but they're not really soft either. Taking one, I will twist off a small bubble, about 1.5 fingers to 2 fingers, and then taking another, I'll match that bubble and twist those 2 bubbles together. Now, at this point, I will take and fold the 2 small bubbles around to the front, thereby locking the balloon down, causing it to be less apt to come undone for you at a critical moment when you least want it to happen. Taking the 2 balloons, you will hold them in your palms with your palms together facing up, pushing forward with one hand and back with the other. Grab with your thumb, then grab the other hand, and then just keep pushing it around and around and around until you come to the end. Then at this point, I will grab both balloons with my thumb, index, and middle finger and squeezing down. There's a technique. I'm not sure if it's widely known. I don't even know if someone else uses it or if anyone else does it, but when you push them together, you create a soft spot so that you can now twist the balloon, locking down the 2 bubbles. I'll take one of these bubbles, separating the balloon. I will push one bubble through to the other side, locking it down, there again making it less apt to come undone. Setting that portion aside, you'll now take your single balloon and put it end to end, measure down the length so that you can effectively twist the balloon into 2 equal portions. And you'll do the same thing with these, pushing and pulling. You'll take and twist these into another spiral. And again, using that technique of pinching,